weird sense of peace you get when you go for a drive when it's snowing. Kind of the same type of peace that's like driving in a super rural part of the country. Say for example, like Idaho or something, where you don't really see people for miles and miles and miles. And I feel like when it snows, you kind of get that same sense of like, there's like no one out today. I'm the only one out today. Just something to think about. So, if you're wondering why I decided to drop everything and just randomly start hiking in the middle of a 7-8 inch snowstorm, there's this common term that has been going around, and it's becoming more and more common, and I keep hearing it more and more on social media. And it's called analysis paralysis, and it's something that I read about back in 2019. And pretty much all this is the inability to make decisions due to overthinking. And if that doesn't hit home for you, man, it sure hit home for me, because that is literally how I lived my life up until I started to actually learn about what this is and kind of how it can affect you in a negative way. When I first heard this, I had just dropped out of college. I didn't really know what my plan was for life. I knew I wanted to go travel and see a bunch of places, but I didn't really know where I wanted that to lead me or how I was supposed to make a career out of it. And the more I traveled, the more I kind of wanted to do content or YouTube as a career and start pursuing that more. But I got stuck, and this is where the analysis paralysis kind of kicks in. Now, even after coming to this realization, I still wouldn't do anything. I wanted everything just to kind of happen to me instead of me wanting to go out and get that. Looking back now, I think I was just being too hard on myself. I knew the fact that I was being too hard on myself probably wasn't actually going to get me anywhere or help me achieve my goals. In reality, all it was doing was hindering me and making it harder for me to actually do anything about it, because I didn't feel like I was actually making any steps in the right direction. But with this realization actually came quite a bit of clarity. And the biggest thing it almost forced me to do was to make a plan. The first step of my plan was actually just laying out my goals. My 1-year goals, my 3-year goals, and my 5-year goals. And the reason I differentiate between the three is because there's a huge difference between a 1-year goal and a 5-year goal. An example of a really common 1-year goal is to get in shape. It's super general, but it's easily measurable. So you could basically measure how much you weigh on January 1 of 2023 and compare that to how much you weigh on January 1 of 2024. In between that, you're going to see intervals of progress. So on the first week you lose 2 pounds, the second week you lose 1 pound, and so on and so forth. But when you get to the end of the year, you've actually seen all that progress take place. Where a 5-year goal, it has a lot harder of a time to be measured because there's so many things that could happen within that 5-year period. For example, a 5-year goal could be, I want to be a CEO of a company in 5 years. That's a lot less measurable because the progress isn't going to be as in your face as, for example, losing a pound of body weight. Once you have clear goals, the next step is to just limit your choices. There's a book called Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz. Basically, the paradox of choice is when you have too many options to choose from, you end up stressing out and not making a decision. Where when you only have a few or a couple options to choose from, you end up making a decision a lot faster. And when I finally learned about paradox of choice, it actually helped me make a lot more decisions. So one thing that I've always kind of tried to do and really struggled with is just try to be more mindful of what I'm taking in and what I'm observing on social media. So paradox of choice actually gave me a really good idea. So instead of having the option to even go on TikTok or Instagram, nowadays you can just set a time limit. You just have to make the decision to actually follow that time limit instead of just clicking ignore. And I think that's pretty much the whole point of this video, is to just make those little decisions that make a huge difference. Anyways, guys, that's how I've always got out of analysis paralysis. I think it's a super fascinating topic. If you guys are also kind of fascinated by this topic, some good books that I recommend you read: The Power of Now, The Power of Moments, and The Obstacle is the Way. So these are just a few of my favorites that kind of touch on this subject. So if you guys are at all interested, please go check out those books. They're freaking fantastic books by authors that I absolutely love. If you guys have any more questions or any more book recommendations, I'm happy to throw them out to you. So, I got a lot of books. I like books. I think that's going to be it for me. I will see you guys in the last video. So if any of you were wondering why I decided not to go to the top of Horsetooth like I was originally planning, there's like steps underneath this. There's supposed to be like railroad tie steps. And it's just, there's not any of that. So if that's how it looks down here, it can only look worse up there. So at least that's my thought process.